Hello. I realise I'm a couple of minutes early. That's because I'm busy trying to actually do my project. I'm trying to get to a place where you're not going to be really bored watching. I've got something to show you and show how it's moving on. And I don't want to be concentrating on this and miss starting at 11. So I'll just I'll talk you briefly through why it's come to this. This is actually a different project to the one I anticipated. Okay. I'm sorry if I'd put anywhere that I was going to do the owl cushion. I'm not. That can be another day. Basically, I've been creating a small spring sampler for the magazine, which, if you want it, the magazine will be out on the 1st of April, and it's just 50p. Treat yourself. There's a cute little spring sampler in there. Okay. Sorry, I don't normally get a chance to test out my samplers. Various reasons, one of which is time. But I've altered the way I'm doing things slightly, which meant I've had time to do it. I've actually been watching Parliament while I've sat and crossed. Don't ask. Okay, right. Sorry if the light's slightly strange. Let's slightly, and nothing down desperate on my board that you can't see. Okay, right. So basically, I've been doing this sampler. Now, the way you're supposed to set yourself up as a cross stitch, if you're using your own Aida, and you found a pattern somewhere, or you're using a pattern you've had before from a kit and you want to do it again, what you're meant to do is cut a sizable piece of Aida by substantially bigger than you're going to need. Mark out your centre lines and start from the centre and work out. And then at the end of it, you're meant to just cut off anything that's significantly excessive. However, I'm one of those people that can't do that. Aida is such an expensive fabric. I've been told by various people, including when I was a kid, I was told by my art textiles teacher that that's what you're meant to do. But it's such an expensive fabric, I could never bring myself to do it. However, anybody who watched my haul video the other day will know that I managed to get myself a massive stash of Aida, of blue Aida, at very, very low cost. Okay? And so this means I have no excuse for this anymore. I can afford to use the Aida in this way. However, there's still part of me, when you've cut off these chunks, that thinks you can't just waste it. It's wrong. There's something wrong with wasting that Aida, particularly when it is generally a very expensive fabric. Okay? So, I had a brainwave. There's a couple of ones I'm showing one of them, and that is to make, not necessarily a cross stitch, but a bracelet. An embroidered, let's say, bracelet. So it's a little tiny sampler. The other one you could do, these pieces aren't quite big enough for that, is to make like a headband. So let me show you. Right. You have a strip of Aida, okay? Now I've got press studs on mine. I'll show you something funky with this one in a minute. I cheat with press studs. I cheat a lot with press studs, because I don't like putting buttons on. Or doing buttonholes. I can do them now. I've got the hang of them now, but I'm not keen on buttonholes. So I like to cheat a lot with press studs. Okay, so you have a strip of Aida like this. I put press studs on each end so that it can go round and become a bracelet. If you wanted to do a headband, obviously you probably need something a little wider and a little longer. Okay, and basically if you attach elastic to each end, that's it. It's much too small for my this piece is much too small for that. It works really nicely as a bracelet. Okay, so to start this, what I have done is I've gone around and frayed the edge. Okay, because you're not going to mount this anywhere. It has to actually function. So I've frayed all these edges. Okay, and then I've popped a press stud and a press stud. Now, the workings for this press stud are going to be hidden on the inside next to a wrist. Okay, however, the workings for this one are blatantly obvious. So if I just slip off my needle, my little bit of thread there, and I will load myself up. Actually, I might get another piece of similar thread. Should I? I'll get some of the grey, actually. It's a lovely grey. I'll tell you about these colours in a minute as well, actually. So I've got some of the grey. I'm just going to take one thread. Normally, for embroidery, you use two. I'm not embroidering with this. So I'm just going to... and yes, my eyes still work enough for me to be able to just thread a needle. I don't need a needle threader. They still work. Okay, so yes, and I do knots the way I'm told not to do knots. Do you know what? I just hide any workings. I found lots and lots of ways to hide my workings, okay? So I get away with doing things you're not meant to do. Okay, so I'm going up. I'm taking my needle up, my thread. Oh, needs to do a bit more carefully than that, apparently. Okay, so I'm taking my thread up through the messy bit. And I have this very, very cute little button. Okay. I don't think you can see it. It's really cute. It's got little sort of doggy heads and paw prints and hearts, and it's brown. So, which is actually where I got my idea for the whole thing, because I was looking through my buttons to find a nice button and found this and thought, that's what I'm going to do. So basically, I'm going to sew this button over my what's it called? I can't think what it's called now. Tell you what, if I put that at an angle, that's going to work better. I'm going to sew it over the no, that's not going to work. Oh, I will sort that out in a minute. Sew it over the press stud, and that's messing about slightly, so I'll have to tweak that. Okay, so you just sew it on pretty much like a normal button. If your press stud's misbehaving, you might have to twiddle around slightly. But basically, you cover your press stud with a button, which is what I have been doing for years on other things, cushions, fabrics, in order to avoid doing buttonholes, which I know is really, really sad. I'm a confident hand sewer, I'm a confident machine sewer, but buttonholes and me are a bit of a mystery. Okay, so I just need to do this lot until that button is well and truly sat on there. Now, threads, we love them. I'll tell you about the threads I've got. The threads I've got are actually bought from the pound shop, okay? And I actually really like them. I think they're a slightly woollier texture, which probably makes more sense to people who work with wool a lot. It's a slightly woollier texture than one of the main labels, Anchor or DMC, okay, which have a slightly silkier cotton texture. I'm sure you're used to. Even though they're not silk, they're actually cottons now, I think. I don't think many of them are silks anymore. Okay, but I quite like them. I find that they work quite nicely. I don't have a problem with them. I think they feel nice. Okay, and there's about 20 in a packet for £1, which is ridiculously cheap for embroidery threads. If I'm not one of these person that particularly goes out. I don't think I've ever gone out and bought specific numbered Anchor or DMC or any of the other labelled threads for a project. I have gradually gained a stash. Firstly, I inherited some actual proper silks from my great-grandma, just a few. When I was a teenager doing my GCSEs, I bought a fairly large stash, for £10 from a wholesaler in Manchester, and I believe he's still there. And and I've still got a massive amount of that stash left. They're lovely, they're heart ones. I've gained 1 or 2 DMCs. I'm not entirely sure how. I know my mum's given me a couple. We did do a big swap of colours, you know, ones we had double ups on in summer. So I gave mum some that I had double ups on and vice versa. And I've got these from the pound shop. I got a couple of these sets because one of our pound shops was closing down. I don't think I managed to get them in the sale, which is sad. But I got them before they all disappeared, and they are really nice. And I don't feel bad that I didn't get them in the sale, because at the end of the day, they're 20 skeins for £1, which is ridiculously good value. Okay, so I've just about got this sorted. So what I need to do now is to tie off this button. This is a little tricky, but only a little tricky. I just need to go through. Can you see? I'm just going through some of my working there, and I'll do that a couple of times before I trim that off. Okay. And okay. Right. Okay, so I have this lovely button, and I've got this bit I've started here. Now, yes, Aida is generally used for cross stitch. That does not mean that you have to cross stitch on it. Okay, you're meant to be using it as a mini sampler. Basically it's a fabric with pre-punched holes. Okay, so you can use it for embroidery. So what I'm doing is I'm using it in a mix. I will be doing some cross stitch because it's another stitch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I don't know whether you've seen this, I've put a running stitch and then leaving a gap every other hole, right? So there's a sort of stitch every other hole, and then I've got one next to it, another row of running stitch. In fact, you can probably see it better on the back, on the alternative holes. Okay, and so now I'm just taking the thread up and through, so you get a, I don't know whether you can see that. Ooh, the focus on this is not great. Anyway, so you can see it's up and down, and it's given a wavy effect. So I'm just going to use up this bit of thread, and then I'll talk about what I'm doing in the middle. Well, actually, I'll talk about what I'm doing in the middle while I chat to you. Because I found that lovely button, I was going to do something springy, but I found this lovely button. I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be dog related, and it might be a present for a friend. Okay, it could well be a present for a friend, this one. So what I needed was, I wanted some little cross-stitch motifs in the middle. Now, if you get a cross-stitch magazine or an embroidery magazine, you'll, though for this particular thing, cross-stitch is probably more useful. If you find sample things, there will be little, or the tea time ones, they'll give you little motifs that you can take those that one tiny design out and use it. Okay, now I wanted some paw prints, so I went to Pinterest, as you do as a crafter, and I found some paw prints. Okay, so they're not my own, they're someone else's. I found these paw prints and I like them, but then I looked and they're a bit too wide, so I've needed to alter. I've done it on the same little sheet, and in fact this is by braceletbook.com. So there you go, you've got a little advert there, braceletbook.com. I printed theirs off. It's a bit wide, so I've used their design as a guide for myself. In fact, I might add another little cross there. Okay, and reworked it myself at the side. It's really messy. There's only me that will ever understand this particular heap of mess at the side. But I've used it as a guide and created a paw print that's going to fit him. Okay, now this is a really important thing here. Okay, I have told you who has produced this. It's not my own, but I'm using it. It's a gift. I'm using it to produce a gift. I'm sure that's why they put that out there. This one that I've altered, it's my own-ish. Okay, the person I'm giving it to will not be bothered whether it was mine or I copied it from somewhere, and if they ask, I'll say I altered it. I have no problem in doing that. that I tweaked or altered it, that person may well watch this video. I have no problem in saying that. I would never use this now and say, this is mine, and sell it as mine. Okay? I would never take these paw prints and put them in another sampler and sell it as mine. Okay? I might sell the work as mine. I have sat and I have cross-stitched this. This work is mine. The design is not mine. Okay? And this is really important. And there's been a lot of chat on various Facebook sites about stealing ideas. And it is really important that you don't. Okay? Now, it has to be accepted that we all flick around Pinterest, we all watch YouTube videos, we all gain inspiration. But you've got to be careful about what you say is yours, okay? I have produced a sampler design for the magazine for Easter. I did have a flick round for inspiration. I then switched off all my media and sat down with a pencil, and after flicking at lots and lots of pictures, I sat down with a pencil and a squared set and a big sheet of squared paper, and I produced an idea. I then sat and cross-stitched it. I have not sat and copied someone's work. Although I got rough ideas, I wanted ideas on the whole sort of thing and how people were setting up the whole thing, what kind of things people were putting together in spring samplers. I did not sit and copy. I did not specifically attempt to copy 20 or 30 different things quickly for ideas, sort of within 2 or 3 minutes, brief flick through, and then I sat and did myself. I am fairly confident that what I have produced is mine. Though I have to accept it's not impossible that it mirrors someone else's, because things because we do gain inspiration from all over, and there is nothing new in the world. So I apologise. Okay? If it has somehow copied someone else's, I apologise. To my knowledge, what I've produced is my own. And when it's not my own, I say it's not my own. Which is why this kind of video, or these kind of projects, where I'm using other people's work, are going on here. The idea I'm giving you is the recycling idea. I happen to be using someone else's design on that idea. But the idea is my idea, and I am not putting it in the magazine and selling it as my idea, okay? Because this sheet of paper that's not mine, okay? So please be careful. Do not about saying what is yours and what's not. If you use someone else's idea as a basis to produce something that you're selling at a craft fair, that's fine. And you'll probably find that if you turn around to your customers and say, yeah, it's a great idea, I got the rough idea from Pinterest and I've tweaked it to make it my own, people don't mind that. People understand that you get ideas from all over the world. You walk past a shop and you see a design on something, you think, oh, that's a nice design. And it is going to influence you. Even if you don't specifically copy that idea, it is going to influence you. And all artists know that. It's just really important that you say what is yours, what is yours based on someone else's idea, and make sure that full credit is given where you can. Or just say to your customers, the base idea isn't mine. How I've implemented is mine. Okay? That's a really important thing. I'm going to go off and do this. Well, I might go off and think about some lunch. I might think about lunch. I'm going to finish this. When I've done it, I will put a picture on my Facebook page. Okay, which is another place. You can look for Kirky Art Magazine on Facebook, and it will be there. Obviously, I won't be putting it on the magazine itself because it's not entirely the pattern isn't mine, so I can't say it is. But the picture of my finished article, and I'll be saying that it's the Recycle project, and I'll pop that on the Facebook page later. Okay, so go ahead, make use of your scraps of Aida. Don't waste them. Don't just throw them in the bin. Use them